What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Transformers Studios Series Deluxe Class B-127/Bumblebee from Transformers 1. And before we get into the review, I want to thank everyone for the support on my last video, the review of Sentinel Prime. It did way better than I expected to, and it's only been 2 days, 1 day, something like that. So I want to thank you all for the support on that video. But with that being said, let's go ahead and check out his wave mate, B-127, or Bumblebee. I'm just going to say B throughout the video, and let's take a look at B's packaging. This is, of course, the new packaging. 18 steps, 8 and up, Autobot logo there. You have a picture of B there, his alt mode there. Transformers Studio Series, he is from Transformers 1. He is B-127/Bumblebee. Of course, this is a Hasbro product. On this side, you have B, his name again, Transformers Studio Series, Transformers 1. On the other side, you have the rest of this shot here, and you have a nice little picture of the surface of Cybertron. He is an Autobot Transformers Studio Series Deluxe Class. On the back of the packaging, you have a nice image of him there from the movie. B-127/Bumblebee. Bumblebee, Optimus Prime, Megatron, and Elita 1 go on a mission to save Cybertron. Transformers 1, you have some nice product images there. 18 steps, more than meets the eye, authentic. Here you have another Hasbro logo there. On the bottom, you have nothing. On the top, you have Takara Tomy and Transformers 1 and his name again there. One thing that they forgot to include on this box was his other name, Badassatron. And before we take a look at the figure itself, it does, of course, include its instruction manual. Picture of B there, Transformers Studio Series 8 and up. Transformers 1, you have his name there. And on the back, you have Takara, Hasbro, all that good stuff. And that is the instruction manual you get with this figure. And with packaging and instructions out of the way, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the alt mode for B here. And I think this is a pretty well done alt mode. I do have a few minor nitpick complaints that we'll get to, but overall it looks pretty good. You can see up front you have some nice blue headlights there with some gray there on the front. Most of this is done in a shade of gold that I'm not sure if I love or hate. It's having to grow on me. As you can see, I'm already fiddling around with this. This is one of my complaints with the figure, but we'll get into that in a little. You can see some more gunmetal gray coloring up through the top. Some nice detailing molded in all throughout. You have these little molded details here. There's the top of the figure. His wheels are pinned on, so they do spin very well. And you also have some nice gunmetal gray down the side. Now, you do have this hollow area, which is one of my complaints with the vehicle mode here. But you do have these nice molded in bits here that kind of look like thrusters, which are pretty nice. On the back, it's just his knees hanging out. Not really a whole lot to say, just a little bit of gray paint. On the bottom, you can see his feet all folded up. You can see the back of his head. But overall, it doesn't look too terrible. It does roll, which is very nice. And yeah, overall, not a bad alt mode, but these little areas here do kind of bug me with the gaps. I'm not sure I love the paint that they used, and this piece never stays together. Now, B does include several different accessories, starting off with this blaster, used by multiple different characters throughout the movie, done in this dark gray, almost black plastic. Looks pretty nice, some nice molded detailing, not a whole lot of paint going on it, clearly, really none, but it looks pretty good. Now this, if they ever make an Orion Pax figure in the future, this would be very useful, but I personally haven't found a way to use it yet, but we'll see if I do eventually. But it is a nice inclusion that they decided to keep it in there with the figure. And he does come with 2 other blasters, which are very nicely done. You can see lots of silver paint on those. Some gold up there. Once again, I'm not sure I love the color gold they used. But overall, these 2 blasters do look pretty good. And the last 2 accessories that you get, I'm sure you can guess if you've seen the movie. Knife hands! Woo! You get 2 blue knives as seen in the movie. And all of this can store here on the vehicle mode. First off, this gun here can just tab onto the side here, like so. And that does disguise it a little if you have him angled that way. For these blasters and the knives, these do tab in to the blasters, like so. And you can do the same thing here with the other one. You can just tab that in, like so. And these store by that tab there, going into that slot there on each side. So just tab that one in, you can tab that one in, and that is your accessory storage for B. And for a couple comparisons here with B real quick, we're going to bring in two together here first, that being Studio Series 112 and Studio Series 114, Optimus Prime and Megatron from TF1. So you can see how the gang is forming together thus far, and I think they're looking pretty good. Can't wait to get Elita 1 later this year. And the other figure that I have brought for comparison is the dreaded, terrible Transformer Sentinel Prime. Once again, thank you for the support on the review for this figure. If you haven't checked it out yet, you should do so. But you can see Bumblebee, being a deluxe, is much smaller than a Jet Voyager class Sentinel Prime. But I figured I'd throw the comparison in there. So yeah, those are the comparisons here with B. And with all that being said, I think I've covered about everything I have to say about the alt mode. Just a few minor complaints. The coloring, don't love it. The gaps are a little annoying, and this piece, unfortunately, does not stick together. But with all that being said, let's transform Bumblebee and see if his robot mode can redeem this figure a little more. Not saying the alt mode is terrible, but it could be a slight bit better. But first, of course, we're going to remove the accessories. So just put all these off to the side, and we can begin. So the first thing we're going to do is untab the arms here. Just pull them out. You can see that tab there will go into a slot right up in there, and this tab here will go into that slot right there. So just untab the arms on both sides, then flip under here, and you're going to use the hinges back in here on the shoulder to bring the arm down. So that tab is facing down. Do the same thing on this side, just bring the arm down like so, and that's how you want that looking. Now what you're going to want to do is come up here and just split the body down the middle. There is a tab right up in there that we will get a better look at here in a minute due to shadows. Here we're going to split the legs like so, and then grab it by this piece here and just untab the foot and swing it around. You can see this slot right here. We'll go with that tab there and just bring this all the way around, and that tab will tab into the back of the leg like so, and then bring the foot forward, and that tab for vehicle mode will slot in to the foot right there like so. Do the same thing on the other side. Just untab that, swing that around, tab that in, bring that down, and slot that tab in. And now what we can do is bring this section the rest of the way forward, and that will clip into place. And now you can see that that tab right there went into that slot when going into vehicle mode. Now we can straighten out his legs like so. And we're back after I just coughed a lung out. But the last step for the legs here, you're just going to come down here and flip these pieces down so they will serve as a heel spur. Do the same thing here on the other side. Just flip that piece down. And there you have the legs for B complete. Now what we're going to do is come up here, and you're going to want to get your fingernail underneath here and bring this piece out, revealing that tab. And then you're just going to swing this whole piece here over top the head of Bumblebee, just like so. Make sure you untab this so that you have the clearance to swing this around, and that tab will go into that slot right there. So just tab that in, and that will form his chest plate. And to finish up the back, what you're going to do is flip this piece under, and you're going to see those two tabs down there will go into those two slots in the backpack. So just tab that in like so. Rotate his head 180 degrees, revealing his beautiful noggin. Rotate the arms so the elbow is facing forward. Open this panel here. Flip the fists around all the way. They will swoop into place. Close that up. Do the same thing on the other side. Rotate. Elbows facing forward. Untab this. Bring it up. Rotate the fist. Clip it into place. Bring that piece down. And with all of that said and done, here is B-127, or Bumblebee, in his robot mode. And when it comes to this little guy here, I do think I certainly prefer the robot mode over the vehicle mode. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at the details here on the robot mode. You can see, if we can focus, the head sculpt there looks very nice. A silver face plate, English. Nice blue eyes there, with some nice silver on the cheeks. this gold paint. Once again, I'm not sure I love the gold paint, but it doesn't bother me so much that I hate the figure. You have the same details there from the vehicle mode, some silver done in there, some gunmetal gray down the leg, even there on the toes and on the front of the toes. Down the arm, some nice molded detailing there on the forearm, hands done in gunmetal gray. You have your wheels here on the shoulders. But overall, I think the details of the figure look pretty good. Now, when it comes to the backpack, I think it is pretty movie accurate and flat, so I think they did a great job with kibble management here on this figure. So overall, I think that the details here in robot mode look pretty freaking good, and I'm a big fan of the way the robot mode for this figure turned out. Now, B is, of course, an action figure, so he can articulate, and he has some very nice articulation, if I may say so myself. Starting off with the head, which is on a ball joint, so he can look up a little, he can look down a little, and it can rotate a full 360. The arms are also on ball joints. They can rotate a full 360. They can go in and out, and they can also go up and down a little bit if you want them to do so. You can have them up higher, you can have them down lower, whichever you prefer. He does have bicep rotation. He does have a little bit over 90 degrees of bend at his elbow, nothing at the wrist, the waist. You do have rotation, and the legs can kick forward that far. They can kick back that far. They can kick out. No splitting, but they can get out a little bit. He does have thigh rotation, knee bend, little over 90 degrees there, which is very nice. And the feet can pivot very, very far. You can totally break his ankle. And if you want to untab it, you can move his foot down also. So overall, some very nice articulation that you get here with B. And when it comes to the accessories with B, there are multiple different things that we can do. First of all, with this piece, you can have him holding it if you wish to do so. You can tab it onto the back of his arm if you wish to do so, or you can store it. You just use this tab here, and yep, yeah boy, that is exactly what you're going to do. You all know what I'm thinking. You can tab it right there into the booty, and he can have a nice gun booty going on there. And then bringing in these other two accessories, they can store also. You just tab them on the back, just as you did in vehicle mode. But one cool thing that you can do with these is actually put them in his hands. So you see they do just tab right on into his hands. And they do cover his fists, making it look like his hands have transformed into the guns. And you can also have the knives there if you want. And I think that looks pretty dang cool. Unfortunately, you can't have just the knives. You have to have the knives attached to the guns, which is a bit of a downside for me, as he did just have the knives a lot throughout the movie. And also, it would have been awesome if they could have figured out a way to incorporate the battle mask. But with this being a deluxe figure, I would not expect them to do that. And overall, I think the accessories that you get with this guy are pretty cool. And for a few quick comparisons here with B, we'll bring in 112 Optimus and 114 Megatron so that you can see how the crew is shaping up so far. And Alita 1 will come out later this year, and of course I will do a review of her when she comes out. But for now, I think the crew is looking pretty awesome. And the other figure, of course, that I have brought in for comparison is the worst Transformer in the history of Transformers. The big bad, or I mean super good guy, totally. Sentinel Prime, my personal favorite, and remains my personal favorite Transformers 1 Studio Series figure thus far. But you can see how those two scale together, and I think they look pretty good together. Bumblebee should be a hair shorter than these figures, but if they'd have made him much smaller, then he would have been a very, very core class looking deluxe class, because he is already a very small looking figure. So I think B scales pretty well given the circumstances with these other figures. And one last comparison just for gits and shiggles. Here he is with Sentinel Prime in murder, death, I'm gonna kill you, get you, eat you, destroy you mode. And so of course this makes Sentinel a little taller, and you can recreate some scenes from the movie where they are fighting one another. The truth is what he makes it! So that is my review for the Transformers Studio Series Deluxe Class B-127/Bumblebee/ Badassatron from Transformers 1. And overall, I think this is another good entry into these Studio Series figures from the Transformers 1 movie. I still think Megatron is the weakest out of the figures so far, just due to the way he looks in robot mode. I think his proportions are off, but this B here might come in second. Now, that isn't necessarily a bad thing because they're all really fun to mess with good-looking figures, so that being said, he's still not that bad. A few complaints in the vehicle mode. There is some gap problems. That one piece in the back does not stay tabbed together. And, of course, one complaint over the whole figure. I don't know if I'm being petty or not, but just to my eyes, this mustard, yellowy, gold finish does not do the job for me. I don't love the way it looks. I wish they'd have chose a different color. I know he was more of a gold than a yellow in the movie, but this just doesn't look right to me. Something seems off about it, in my personal opinion. Once again, I might just be being picky, but to me, it's a complaint, so I'm going to include it in my review and rating. And speaking of my rating, like I said, he might be the second least, I'm not going to say worst, but not best figure from these Studio Series Transformers 1 characters so far, but that doesn't make him bad because they're all awesome, and given the criteria that I usually rank off of and the complaints that I've had, I'm still going to give this guy an 8.5 out of 10. I still would really recommend this figure, especially if you enjoy Transformers 1 or if you are a Bumblebee fan. Now, with all this being said, what can you expect in the future? Well, I'll give you a hint. I have two very new Gamer Edition figures to take a look at, and you will be getting reviews for those in the coming days. Thanks again for the support on my last review, and thank you for checking out this review. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, comment if you want, and talk about this figure with me. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about B-127 here. So one thing I want everyone to remember: do not sacrifice the things you love for the approval of others. Now roll out. Peace.